Hi, my name's Daniel Mellis. I'm the RIIO ED2 Connection Strategy Lead, and I'm going to take you through our draft business plan updates for connections. So in July, we submitted our draft ED2 business plan to Ofgem and the Challenge Group. We also published it online, which we will link later on in the presentation. Our draft business plan included a connection strategy which covered our commitments and targets for 23 to 28, which included some targets on minor connections and also the new updated major connections strategy. So at the moment, we are looking to get feedback on our draft plan so that we can refine our strategies and targets with input from our stakeholders. We will work with Ofgem in the coming months and other DNOs on the metrics and measures associated with the new major connections customer strategy, and also we are discussing and working with Ofgem on the AccessSCR, the significant code review minded to proposals, which is around the charging and access to the network. And then in December 2021, we will submit our final version of the business plan, and that will include any changes made and also any changes made on the outputs of the AccessSCR decisions. So for minor connections, we have set ourselves some targets on broader measure of customer satisfaction and also time to quote, time to connect. In broader measure, customer satisfaction, we've set some targets on 9.2 out of 10, which is around the mean level of all DNO targets set in the draft business plans. For time to quote, we will improve around 10% on our 1920 performance levels, and on time to connect we will improve by 1 day in SHEP-D and 2 days in SEPT-D. 1920 performance was a very positive year for us, and was some of the best in the industry, so we believe that setting improvements on that year is better than using 21-22 due to the COVID impact. We've also submitted plans for funding to automate LCT applications, and that system will also be developed later to automate some minor connections and LVDG type applications. So for our major connections customers in ED2, Ofgem are adopting a new major connections customer framework. So this is going to replace essentially the incentive on connections engagement ICE, which we have in ED1 and some of you will be familiar with. There'll be strategies required on how we meet the key principles and baseline expectations that have been set by Ofgem. These expectations and principles have been set in discussion with DNOs, but also with stakeholder influence, and annual reporting will be key on this framework. So the high-level principles that underpin expectations are the support connections stakeholders prior to making an application by providing accurate, comprehensive and user-friendly information, deliver value for customers by ensuring simplicity and transparency through the applications process, and to facilitate the delivery of timely and economical connections that meet customer needs. So essentially you can break this down into 3 different areas. So you've got your pre-application stage, your application and quotation stage, and then your delivery, project delivery stage. So we have around 20 or so baseline expectations which sit underneath each of these key principles, and they are applicable to certain market segments. For example, some around the kind of application process may work or may be suitable for all market segments, but then there may be some specific unmetered application type expectations which are obviously not suitable for, say, large DG. So there will be incentive rates or penalty rates of 0.1% of base revenue against each segment that doesn't pass competition. So there is an exposure there if we don't deliver on this to be penalised, reasonably heavily. DNOs will continue to work with Ofgem up to the final plan and possibly beyond on deciding metrics and benchmarking targets, etc. in these areas. But but we do believe customer satisfaction is the biggest and the most key one, and that will be included across each stage of the connections process. So we have in our draft plan, we've included a target for customer satisfaction for our major connections customers, and that is to kind of hit around the 8.5 level at the beginning of ED2. So a good bit of improvement to be done in the latter stages of ED1, and then hopefully with all the proposals that we have in place and hitting our customers' expectations, we will rise to around 9 out of 10 by the end of ED2. So what will we provide for our major connections customers in ED2? This slide covers everything that we've included in our draft business plan in order to meet the expectations of both Ofgem and our customers and stakeholders. So to meet the key principles and baseline expectations on the pre-application stage, we are improving website functionality, improving the information available. We're also trying to facilitate simpler and quicker application processes, and also have a couple of investment cases in to increase the availability of network data and information at the pre-application stage. We will also continue stakeholder engagement and continue to work with our customers to ensure the best process possible. At application and design, we will implement a digital self-serve application process with self-serve online or notified progress updates. We'll also offer increased suite of flexible connections and flexibility services for both distributed generation and large demand customers. And at the delivery and closure stage of projects, we will increase our communications and also include a availability of self-serve progress tracking through our online portals. We will implement the ENA's queue management processes, so to kind of stop capacity hoarding essentially, and we will also target financial closure and refunds process within 60 working days. So now I just wanted to run through Ofgem's Minded 2 position on AccessSCR. This is going to be a significant change, or could be a significant change to both DNOs and customers going forward into RIIO ED2. So essentially there was three parts of the Minded 2 proposals at the moment, and that was to introduce shallower connection boundaries for generators and a shallow connection boundary for demand. So shallower connection boundary for generators means that they contribute less than they do at present to reinforcement. Essentially what will happen is the voltage rule will reduce from one voltage level above the point of connection to just the voltage level at which the customer is connecting, and also the high cost cap element will continue to be in place. For our demand customers, it will be a shallow connection boundary, so essentially demand customers will no longer pay any portion of reinforcement charges up front. Also looking to introduce low regret access right choices, so more clearly defined levels of firmness, time profiled access which recognises the value to the network of peak or off-peak access, and also introduce a change so that small distribution generation, so between 1 and 100 megawatts, face wider transmission network use of sister or TNUoS generator charges. The implementation may be delayed until there's greater clarity on further developments in transmission charging, and there may be an aspect of grandfathering. However, that is not clear at the moment, and is a couple of areas in which Ofgem is certainly seeking views. Within our ED2 final business plan, we are looking to implement the changes from the impact of the AccessSCR Minded 2 position. What we are looking to do over the coming weeks is also set up a webinar dedicated to this topic, in which most of you will be, or if not all of you, will be invited to attend and participate in. And what we're really trying to do is trying to gauge the customer behaviour impacts of these decisions if Ofgem go with what they have at Minded 2 position, and that allows us to make some amendments to perhaps to the baseline element of our plans for ED2 in terms of the reinforcement cost apportioned costs, but also would allow us to build perhaps an uncertainty mechanism that we could use throughout ED2 if these decisions are taken forward and it basically ends up with significant changes to customer behaviour, increased reinforcement costs, etc. So thanks for your time, and hopefully you found it useful to get an overview here of our draft business plan for ED2 for our connections strategy. If you have any feedback or have any thoughts or comments, or would like to discuss anything in greater detail with myself or anyone else in the ED2 team, then please provide feedback or get in touch with our connections engagement team or directly to myself, Daniel Mellis, at daniel.mellis@sse.com, and we'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.